Okay. Hi. My name is Christine. I am with Dogs for Life, Whole Dog Training and Wellness here in the Chicago suburbs. And I am with Travis today, who is from Stinkeye Photography. And I'm really excited. I've followed Travis probably for about a year and a half on his Facebook page because that's primarily where I hang out and have been I think you're just a super talented person with a huge heart when it comes for dogs, and I just wanted to do a Facebook Live with you to share your story and help other people to understand what it is that you do and the dogs that you save through your rescue and so forth. So maybe what you could do is just give me a little information about yourself, and then we'll go from there.
All right.
Introduce yourself.
My name's Travis Patenaude. I'm in Crystal Lake, Illinois. And best way to describe it is I'm a voice for the hunting dogs of Spain. I use my photography for activism for these dogs to kind of help raise awareness for them and to kind of tell the story what's happening to these dogs in Spain. My wife and I also run Love, Hope, Believe Galgo Adoption. We started the group after adopting our first Galgo in 2013 named Lena. And she inspired us to start our adoption group. And since we've started it, we've transported about 250 Galgos to the Chicago area to find homes. So it's been a fun, long journey. And from adopting one little Galgo to changing our lives for doing the adoption and now photography. It's been a fun journey.
Yeah. And so, how did it come to be for you? So you said you adopted Lena.
Right.
How did you come to learn about the Galgos? Because obviously you adopted one. So how'd you come about that?
For a long time, me and my wife volunteered for Greyhounds only, and
Oh,
we worked at the kennels, and we came across a magazine article that talked about the Galgos. This was back in 2011, 2012 timeframe. And once we kind of learned about it, our house, we already had 5 Greyhounds at the time. So we kind of figured if our house would get some extra space, we would look at adopting a Galgo. Then one day we decided to put the application in. We were told it was going to be about a year wait. And so we decided to wait. But the following weekend, we found out 2 just arrived in Chicago that were looking for homes. And that weekend, we had our first Galgo named Lena. So instead of waiting a year, it turned into about a week and a half.
oh
And
wow,
she
that
was
went quick.
her. And it was amazing how I've always say the universe gives you what you need when you need it. And that was perfect timing for us to kind of have her and learn about her life and everything.
And so is that what led you to photography, or did you do photography beforehand?
Well, with when we learned about Lena's life in Spain and what was happening to them, and we decided to start our own adoption group for them because there were none in the Midwest at the time. So what was kind of funny about that is we decided to do the adoption group to bring dogs from Spain, but neither of us have ever been to Spain. We didn't know anyone in Spain, and neither of us could speak Spanish, but we're dedicated to bring these dogs over. Uh, so what happened is after we got a group started and got our first transport of 2 dogs over, we now needed to promote them. So that means pictures. So I bought a basic point and shoot camera, trying to take pictures, and they were horrible. But we lucked out and had a member from hurtspeak.org. So they're a group of professional photographers that donate their time to shelters to take photos. And they came out, took photos of our adoptable dogs. And after seeing those photos, I just like, okay, I got to figure this out. I got to figure out how to take better photos. So I just kind of jumped headfirst, watching YouTube videos, whatever I can to learn how to take better photos.
And so you've got to have like a slew of different camera equipment because the photography that you do is just so awesome. So do you have like a set that you work off of, or how do you?
Basically, my I started out with natural light, but I now mainly do studio because a lot of the dogs I work with are very traumatized and very fearful. So I wanted to kind of set up a nice environment for them where they could relax and be comfortable. So I turned my garage into my studio.
Okay.
So I shoot out of my garage and use studio lights for that. And it's a matter of, just making sure they're comfortable with the lights and so forth. But that's pretty much how I started, just kind of seeing how I could get better personalities of these dogs, get them when they're comfortable, but being able to tell their full stories also.
Right, right. And so then from taking all of the photos, then you started uh, putting them into uh, like photo contests and stuff like that, or how did that all come about?
Yeah, with when I first started photography with Heard Speak, they kind of gave me some tips, and I set a goal for myself to become a member of Heard Speak within a year of taking up photography. And I was able to reach that goal. And then I met other photographers, dog photographers, and they kind of taught me about PPA, Professional Photographers America, and their print competitions. So I just started entering print competitions to try to get the feedback on my images so I could become a better photographer. And what was great about it is I started winning awards and raising much more awareness for these dogs because of through the print competition. And one of the great aha moments I had is I was listening to the judges talk, and my image came up, and one of them was talking about the dog and was kind of asking about the breed. And three other judges popped up and said, "Oh no, that's a Galgo. This is they're from Spain." And so it was nice to see that they were learning about it too as it came through. So it was kind of nice knowing that yes, it is working what I was trying to do.
Yeah. And so how does your photography now, because I know you have like the adoption group, but how does your photography help the dogs in Spain? Um, and what is it that you find that has been really kind of a push for the breed, the stories that you get to tell about the dogs and the breed through your photography? How did that all kind of come to place for you?
A lot of it, well, one of the main things was when one of our first trips to Spain, we were working at a Pereira, so it's a dog pound for these hunting dogs, and they had a dog that was just dropped off, and it was very scared, very traumatized, scars, and very skinny. And what happened was I was able to capture a picture of the dog with my little point and shoot camera, and when I showed people, I saw a very noticeable change in them. The fact that they had empathy for the dog and they wanted to learn more about the dog. So that is where I started to learn I could actually tell the story of these dogs through photography. And a lot of it is just getting people to ask questions. And that is the main point of it is if I get them to ask a question about, hey, I've never seen this dog, or what's the story of this dog, that I could tell them now the full story of the hunting dogs of Spain and why they need help. So it's just kind of been slowly building that way. It could be a simple happy photo of like one of my, a nice happy pose, but people have never seen a breed like that. So they're always asking, what kind of dog is that? And once again, that gives me another option to say, hey, this is a Galgo, this is their story, and kind of help raise awareness that way. Because a lot of people see them as greyhounds, which they are cousins of the greyhound, but they are a different breed.
Yeah. And so what do you hope in the long run? I mean, I know you have the rescue and so forth, for the breed, taking the pictures, telling the story. Ultimately, what is the goal for the Galgos? Because it's not just used as the Spanish hunting breeds. I know you kind of focus on the Galgos, but obviously there are other
Right.
breeds that are in there as well. And so ultimately, what is the goal for the community to help these dogs? And what's the end game, so to speak?
Well, the full end game is to end the hunting with these dogs. So it's to kind of give you the background is galgos are used for hunting hare in Spain. They are mass bred every year. About 100,000 of these dogs are killed or abandoned each year just to try to find the next champion. The hunters believe that the more the dog suffers at the end of the hunting season, the more prosperous the following year would be. So they will hobble the dogs and abandon them, cut the microchips out, and just leave them. They will hang them in trees in form of what's called piano playing. So only the back feet are touching the ground. There's so many different ways that they torture these dogs, but it's the fact that being able to end that. And why I tend to use the photos is hopefully the right person will finally see the image to have a big voice to be able to kind of put enough pressure on Spain to stop it. Recently, in September of last year, Spain was going to enact a new animal welfare law. So when it was written, the hunting dogs were actually included and would be treated the same as pets. But the hunters, they lobbied against it. The hunters have a very big lobby. So hunting in Spain is a 5 billion euro per year industry. So they're making Spain into the hunting capital of the world. So instead of going to your golf course to go play golf for a business deal, you could go to Spain and hunt whatever you want. And you could even rent dogs to go hunting with them. So it's those things that they're trying to do. But the hunters did not want the dogs included in that. So they threatened the politicians to say, hey, if you include them, we're going to vote for the other guys and you lose. So they folded and the hunting dogs were excluded from the animal welfare law. So once again, they are kind of left out and they're the ones that truly need that protection.
Yeah. And there's a name that they have for them.
The galgoleros.
Yeah. I meant like a name for the Spanish hunting breed was is it the Great Forgotten?
Yeah, there's quite a few names. The Great Forgotten, the Invisible Ones.
The
There's
invisible ones.
quite a
Yeah.
few different ones out there. So
Yeah.
but it's amazing to kind of see for what these dogs deal with. And even, Podencos, there's Bogaderos, which are kind of like little terriers that are out there also. There's so many different little breeds that are tied into this that just trying to raise awareness for all of them. It's hard to kind of cover all of them, but we try to at least showcase who we can for them.
Yeah, right. And so tell me about your trips to Spain. So you've been to Spain, obviously. When you go there, you go to a facility.
Right.
Is this where you bring the dogs back from there, or is it pre-chosen, or what is it when you arrive there? What do what's it like?
Right. So I've been to Spain probably about 16, 17 times since 2013. The main
Wow.
shelter we work with is Benjamin Mainhart Foundation, which is in Das Hermanas, Spain, which is just south of Sevilla, Spain. This shelter houses 750 dogs, with 80% of them being galgos.
Oh, wow.
So it's a huge shelter. They have a full vet clinic on site, full paid staff. So it is very well run and it's a very nice shelter, very dedicated people. I will stay on site. They do have like a hostel on site, so I will sleep in the shelter for that time. So I do have to bring earplugs because it does get noisy with 750 dogs outside. But it's also probably one of the most relaxing vacations I will ever have. Because in the morning, I just walk out. I can go sit in the areas with the dogs in the medical areas and just hang out with the dogs all day. It's such a nice, relaxing place. But at the same time, you're kind of seeing these dogs come in wounded, injured, scared, and, trying to help connect that bond with them and showcase these dogs to kind of help raise awareness for them.
Yeah, so tell me about like, you know, because you bring these dogs back, um, and I imagine you have them in foster care and stuff like that. What are some of the challenges for these dogs as you bring them back into the, you know, back to the States for adoptions? They're fostered, and what kind of condition are these dogs are in?
So with the nice thing with Benjamin Maynard Foundation, Alberto, who is the lead trainer, he does a phenomenal job with them. He's very good on reading the personalities. So we're able to tell him kind of what we need for the adopters. A lot of people here are not capable of dealing with a very traumatized dog. So we kind of make sure that the certain sets we set for the dogs, you know, they have to at least be confident enough to be with other dogs, cat testing them, seeing how they are with small dogs, children, things like that. But one of the main things is these dogs tend to have never lived in a home before. So I always describe them as a feral dog. So coming into a home will be different. And if you've had sight hounds like a greyhound, I explain it as, you know, greyhound is kind of like a book smart, a galgo is street smart. It's kind of like a raccoon. They know how to figure things out. They think very three-dimensional. A greyhound, if he sees a rabbit at a fence, he's going to get to the fence and stop. A galgo will get to the fence and try to figure out, can I go underneath it, around it, or over it? So they will figure that thing out, and it's fun to watch the wheels turn in their head as they're
Okay.
trying to figure these things out.
Mm-hmm.
One of our current fosters that we've actually had for a year now, named Folly, he's a great dog inside, but he's very fearful outside of noises. And at the shelter, he jumped over the 5-foot fence and then scaled the 12-foot gates. So we have to be very careful with him outside and kind of track him. But he's trusts us enough that he always comes to us, and he'll always go right to the door to get in if he's getting nervous. So we know when to bring him in. But it's kind of some of those personalities we have to deal with too to try to find the right homes for them.
Yeah, I imagine it's sometimes sometimes I think it makes a good match. You can get a good match, but when you don't have dogs that have ever been in a home, um, it can be a bit of a challenge in adjusting. And so I know, like a lot of rescues, they have that 3-3-3, where it's 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months.
Right.
And being that I have brought in a couple rescues of my own that are part of my family, I, I know that it goes well beyond that. So I have a Podenco that I got in in March. He initially was a foster, um, and he is 10 years old. And he had not really been in a home. He was in a dog run, and I think they got him around age 1,
Right.
found in the streets, near death. They recouped him. He's had several surgeries, knee replacements, and then he's been in like a dog run, basically. So um, I follow Beverly Farmer
Right.
from Podenco and Friends. And so I remember her posting about this dog years ago. And she had made a post, and I contacted her and I said, let's send him out here. Let's acclimate him to a house, see what he's going to be made of, and see what we could do about finding him a home. At 10 years, he's never had a home, you know?
Right.
And so, but my point being is, one, uh, he did. It was like potty training an older dog because they want to, you know, lift their leg on everything. So at first it's just following around, pushing that leg down and making
Yeah.
sure he's getting out and stuff. And so, but actually it kind of went smooth. I mean, it was a little bumpy because he wasn't used to the other dogs. And I have a lot of dogs that come in and out of my house. And so that he had to acclimate to that and so
Right.
forth. But I guess, I'm giving you the long story, but ultimately, I did adopt him in December, and I still see his personality coming out. Like now he's starting to get a little. At first, he was like a real gentleman. He was just really he kind of laid back, not real active, and he just gets into all kinds of stuff now. He's feeling all so good about
Yep.
himself, but he like shreds the paper in the garbage can, and so he's got a little naughty in him, but he's a charmer, so I'm
Yeah,
glad I.
that's what's always fun to watch, is seeing those personalities slowly start coming out and emerging. And you think you've seen all of it, and then something new comes up, and that's what we always love to see. It's like our last foster horse. He was nervous the first couple of days, but before he got adopted, he got adopted on Saturday. We started seeing him doing something. So he would grab a shoe out of the bedroom and kind of bring it out, and just kind of grabbing some things. It's just like, hey, nope, can't do that. But this is also kind of why we always foster dogs, even if they're adopted coming from Spain. We'll always foster them for at least 2 weeks. So
Okay.
this way we kind of get a little more acclimated to the home, kind of find out any issues, and this way we could work with the home the best way to work with them to solve those issues. So it kind of gives the adoptive family a better chance of a positive adoption.
Right.
So, and out of the 250, I think we've only had maybe 4 or 5 returns. So it's just kind of working that
Good
way just to kind
percentage,
of
yeah.
keep that. So,
Very good. So tell me about some of these pictures. So we sent some pictures, and they're so
yep.
heartfelt. I don't know if you could see on the screen there.
Now,
Um,
this one is her name when we brought her over, it was Kalinda. It's now Sierra. Her adoptive family named her Sierra. We fostered her for about 2 weeks, and she was still needed to gain a little weight. And you can see how she's kind of bent down, but it's actually in this image, it's her shoulder. She had a limp that the vets couldn't figure it out. There was no damage or anything, no pain, but she always had this little limp going on. So this was one picture I took when I was trying my light out for the first time before she was being adopted. The fun thing is that she literally went from the street life to the sweet life because her family came and picked her up in their own private jet.
oh, no kidding.
So she's got a great life now. And there's another picture of her standing up that this is her a year later. So her
Wow.
family came out uh, to meet me when I was up in Minneapolis. So they brought her out, and this is her a year later.
Look at that personality. You could just see
Yep.
she's very cute. You could just see she's, yep, full of life and great personality. So this is a beautiful picture. It's a rough coat, uh,
Yep.
and just absolutely love the expression. Can you tell me a little bit about this girl? Is it a girl or a
Yep.
boy? I don't know.
Girl, this is a Mai, and
Um,
I have to say she absolutely suckered me. Uh, last time I was in Spain, or second to last time I was in Spain, I met her because she was in the same kennel with a dog I was transporting at that time. And she was just curled up in a ball in the corner, just, you know, not interacting with anyone. And for that whole week, I just kind of kept going to check on her, meet her, and at the time, me and my wife already had 6 dogs, and it was like, I don't need 7. I don't need 7, but same time, it's like I could not get it off my mind, and thinking that I knew if I didn't take her, I would regret it. So I ended up just like told my wife, yeah, I'm going to be bringing another dog home for us. So sorry, but yeah, she's been a phenomenal dog, and it's kind of funny. I wish I had the other picture to show you to show the difference between her. That the one picture she's curled up in the corner, and 2 weeks after the home, she's hanging over top of me, just clinging on to me. So it's just like, yeah, I got suckered.
so
But
cute. And then this one obviously is very, very moving, but this is a very common look for the galgo in Spain.
Oh
This
yeah.
is kind of what happens to them. A lot of the dogs that are living out on the streets, and or they're not even necessarily in the streets, but they're with the hunter's family. They're not very well cared for. And so this super thin look is not, I don't think, is not an unusual look
No,
for a galgo.
unfortunately, for this boy and another one that was brought in with him, they both had injured legs. So his front left leg was injured. You can see the knot right at the wrist.
Yeah,
And so the hunter didn't want to take care of it, so he just stopped feeding him. He was just going to starve the dogs.
yeah,
Instead of wasting a bullet or anything, just starve them. But luckily, they were able to get the dogs from them, and obviously he's now at the shelter and will be taken care of.
right,
Uh,
right.
he When I met this dog, he was still had a very good personality, regardless of the stuff he's been through. He was going up to people, looking for attention. So it's nice to see those things, and that's what we truly love about these breeds. Also, is for how much they've had to endure, they still want that affection and that connection.
Yeah. And then you've got this really super cute guy right here.
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. This boy Rizzo, uh, he's actually a famous galgo out in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
oh,
So him and his sister Whitaker, who's another galgo, they are therapy dogs out in Albuquerque. And the stories that the mom has told me, the mom, I may have to connect you with her because she's done amazing work for the dogs out in that area. That she actually helped build the Albuquerque Animal Court. So anyone that is charged with uh, crimes towards animals, they go to the special court where the judge is up to date on all the laws for animals. They have to go through training with her. So she's helped write all that stuff. But with her two galgos, she goes to the schools, hospitals, prisons, and even into the reservations to kind of help teach about animals and help build the connections with them. So Rizzo is one I had to go out and I wanted to get a good portrait of him because of one of the stories she told me about that she was walking through the hospital one day, and as they went past the store, a gentleman and a woman came out, and the gentleman just kind of started petting Rizzo, and the woman and Sherry started talking, and the woman's like, "Yeah, unfortunately, we just received some bad news, but we don't think her husband's actually understanding it, what was told to him." And as the talking, she heard the husband talk to Rizzo saying, "Yeah, I've got some bad news that not going to survive." So the family invited her to bring Rizzo to the hospital for a couple of days to keep meeting, to come talk to the husband, kind of spend time with him. And the whole family ended up meeting Rizzo. So when the man passed away, the family invited Rizzo to the wake. They wanted him there. They had it at the restaurant. They had the restaurant bring everything outside so Rizzo could attend it. So it's those things that I love to hear. And there's another one of they also go to like halfway homes. So they were working with a bunch of girls that were part of sex trafficking. And they had one girl who's very tall, skinny, long black hair. And they kind of, it's like, yeah, I think Rizzo's your spirit twin because they kind of looked alike, the long black hair, skinny. But the counselors could never get her to talk to her. But when Rizzo came in, he would lay down and she would lay down next to him, just kind of stroke his fur. And every time she would stop, he would nudge her to keep petting. So she would stop every once in a while because she loved being nudged, but she would open up to him. So the counselors would just be in the background listening to catch that, but that allowed her to talk to them. So it's those stories that I love to hear, that these dogs that were abandoned and felt useless are helping people adjust and change their lives.
yeah. And so with your work and stuff like that, when we were talking earlier, a few days back, um, you were talking about the photography contest that you're doing. And so why don't you tell me a little bit about that? Because I think that's just, it's just an ongoing commitment for the beautiful photos that you've taken for these dogs, and hearing the stories about, them in Spain and their transition to, here in the States and into the fosters, and then the wonderful work that the people who are adopting them are doing with the dogs. And so you've kind of taken it a little further in the photography end of it by offering a contest. So,
Yep. Yeah, it's as I've learned photography and met many other photographers and learned about the great work they're doing too for shelters and everything. I wanted to find another way to help honor Lena, and what she's done for us is so. Uh, Last year, I decided to start Lena's Humanitarian Award. So this is for other animal photographers that focus their skills to help the companion animals, to help tell the stories of lesser known issues that we need to shed light on to help change their lives and help bring to light the animal human bond to show that. Last year's winner was Rob Day, and he was showcasing. Sorry, Rob Day is out of Indianapolis, Indiana, and he was showcasing how feral cats and community cats could help with community and help connection with people. So they would do a catch and release to sterilize the cats, but work with the community, have the community cats in there to kind of take care of any rodents or things like that. But the community would take care of those cats at that time. So it was a great project that he was able to showcase. And with the feral cats in that Indianapolis, about 100% of them would be euthanized because they could not find homes for them. So being able to get community cats now, it still gives the cat a good life and still the connection with people.
wow.
So it's
And
kind of
so,
finding those stories that we could help showcase and uh, give them the award for being able to do that.
and how many entries do you suppose that there were last year?
Last year for our first year, we had I think 12 entries.
Okay.
So it's still slow building up, which is
Sure.
it's expected. The nice thing is the winner for last year and this year receives $1,000 out of my pocket, so I'm putting the $1,000 up for it. They're getting there was an animal imaging conference that they got a free pass for that. Another free training through Unleashed Education, online photography training. We also had Melissa Furlow, a National Geographic and Pulitzer Prize winning photographer,
Oh,
do a
wow.
one-on-one session with that person.
How awesome.
So, and
That's going to be so thrilling.
no, yeah, it's nice when we kind of start building these things up to kind of help showcase these things. And it was kind of fun when I talked to Melissa on this for tell her who the winner was. She was excited because she also works with community cats in the past, so she was real excited to kind of talk to him about that. So it's just those connections to be able to kind of help make, and you kind of realize how small the universe actually is. That everyone's kind of there's some way we all tie in with this stuff. So
Yeah. And so, what is the entry then for this year? From what time to what time, and when, when, when is the
the
end
entries
that they can
just
enter?
opened up on March 2nd. So they
Okay.
just opened up and it will close on October 5th.
Okay.
Then we'll be announcing the winner on November 19th.
Oh, okay. All right. And so hopefully so how would people who want to enter, how do they get a hold of you? What is that process for them?
So there's a website called the ISA. Sorry, name always throws me off. The ISAP.com. I'll put this up in the comment section for you.
Okay.
But from that site, you'll see the Lena's Humanitarian Award. And from there, you could actually apply for it, submit your application for it. And what it is we're going to ask you about the project and about you. Kind of how do you get into photography? What drew you into this project? What research did you do for the project? What were your goals of the project? And what did you learn from doing this project? So we kind of eventually want to be able to make it so we have a database to help other people that want to do these projects, that we have some scenarios and things that people have run into and what worked, what didn't work.
Good. I'm sorry, I was trying to get this there.
Right.
The ISAP.com. This is where they would go out and fill out the information and submit their photos. And then there is a form in which they're
Yeah,
going
questionnaire they're
to,
going to have to fill out and submit between 10 to 20 images from the project.
okay, from like a
So,
start to finish, however they wanted to
yep.
do it. Does it just apply for, like dogs and just rescues in general, or
Yeah,
uh,
I've kept it within companion animals.
companion animals?
Yep.
Okay, because
So, because
yeah, I
I
imagine
felt,
there's
yeah, it's
wildlife
still
people.
a wide group, because
Hmm.
everything from a horse to chickens could still technically be companion animals. So
Sure.
anything that draws most of its interaction with people, that is would be considered a companion animal. And that was the one thing I found is when I was really trying to learn how to do this and uh, be more uh, activism towards it. I couldn't find anything that really focused on companion animals. It was all wildlife conservation,
Right.
or the meat trades, things like that, animals in the meat trade, which is great subjects and all that. But I wanted to focus on the companion animals. That's still a section that is not really getting the attention it needs.
Right. Right. And so I think that's really exciting. I think that people, if you have not to visit the Instagram, I think that's where a lot of your photos are posted.
Yep.
Again, I think they're just wonderful. And now that I know you're in Crystal Lake, I knew you were in the area, so we're
Right.
not too far from each other. I might have to set up an appointment for my
Yeah.
Banco. Uh,
I always
and
love doing their
so,
Panenkos too. They're always fun. Love their ers.
yeah, and he's got some big ears, I'll tell you that
Yeah.
for sure. He's quite the dreamer, though, I'll tell you. I think that he's had some I mean, he dreams like every time, at least once or twice a day. He's always like
Yep.
makes me wonder what all goes on in his head. But anyways, so let's just kind of wrap up with just a question as to, I know that from the photo end of it, all of the travels that that you do to select the dogs that come into the rescue. And so what are some of the things that would help you from a rescue standpoint? Are there things that the rescue needs, and how do people get involved if they want to get involved? I think your pictures draw an emotion for people, and there are those who are just going to kind of flip by those pictures, and then there's people who are where they look at those pictures and they say, "What can I do to help?"
Right.
And so, do they donate, or what is it that your rescue would benefit from?
One of the big things I always say is if you see the stories on social media, share the stories. Because if your followers are animal lovers and you share the story, you're reaching more people. So that was the whole one of the reasons behind this was I saw it as kind of like the lost dog syndrome of when you lose a dog, get flyers out to try to get more eyes on searching for that dog. So if we get more people to share the stories, reaches more people, and you know a better attention and hopefully more pressure on Spain to change the laws. Two, if you're in the area, if you're able to help out, volunteer, foster, we could always use fosters. With Galgos and Podencos, either you need a 6-foot fence or a commitment to leash walk only. So, we could always talk about those things with you, those options. A lot of adoption groups always need fosters. Help with transports. So if at the airport, we could always need help when dogs come in. If you know anyone traveling to Spain that is willing to help escort dogs, we go through that whole process with you, which it is fairly simple. It's just some paperwork we have to do on our side, but it is a fun process. And I always say it's one of the best souvenirs you can take home from Spain. If you ever want to do a volunteer vacation, you can go visit one of the shelters in Spain and spend a day or two at the shelter working with dogs. So that's always a fun way to go too.
That's interesting.
There's a lot of different things, and all groups, either here in the U.S. or in Spain, could always use money. That's one of the downfalls between vet bills, food, and all those expenses that we have to deal with. For us to transport a dog, each dog is roughly, I want to say, $1,600 now. Ooh. Just to transport one dog. Our adoption fee is $800. So we're covering half the cost that comes from donations to allow us to do that.
Yeah. And so how do people do that? How do they donate to you?
You could go to adoptthegalgo.com, which is our adoption group, Love, Hope, Believe Galgo Adoption. There's a donate button down there. If you would like to donate to the shelter in Spain, you could go to fbmamerica.com, and you could donate to them also, and that goes directly to the shelter in Spain.
Okay, those are great options. And so for people who want to foster, you said about the fences, or they have to walk. What kind of, what are the qualifications? Are there any other qualifications that they need?
Basically, we just want to make sure that they're going to be working with the dog, teaching some basic commands, training. Sit, stay. If they don't have a lot of dogs in their home, so they can spend time with the dog and be able to kind of keep us up to date on personality traits, things like that, making the videos, posts, things like that. Bring them out to meet and greets as needed. So it's all that fun stuff. But it's just working with the dog to kind of help get them adjusted and ready for the new homes.
Yeah, I think that would be the big component, is just getting the dog into the home and helping them to adjust and get them into a comfort and routine that right. Somebody else can kind of pick up and move from there. Because as you said, you might only have the dogs for a couple of weeks in foster care before they're actually adopted out. And so, I think most people who have fostered before just kind of realize that they need to decompress. And I think that that's an important piece, for the fosters to just kind of give them because they're coming. These aren't just like dogs that are just like, coming from, somebody's house or a shelter, or I guess they're kind of like shelters, but it's even a shelter on steroids, because these right. dogs have had such, such poor upbringing, poor health, there's not a lot of affection. And so, they're kept in tin boxes and, they don't really have much of a life, or they're out on the street starving and trying to just figure it all out. So decompression. I imagine some of these dogs, you once kind of mentioned about PTSD and dealing with dogs from that nature. So,
and with that, we always know what the dog's coming over of kind of any issues there might be. So we obviously won't match a dog with a new foster who's never dealt with that. It doesn't have the background to deal with those things. We also do work with a group of trainers that focus directly on traumatized dogs. So they're able to help the fosters and us through any issues that we have. So they're always available. And we also offer the foster homes training for that once they come in. So we're able to kind of get them acclimated with dealing with these type of dogs also. The hard
Cool.
part is usually the fosters don't want to give the dogs up. They've been with them for 2 weeks. Like, I love this dog. But it's one of those fun things to be able to see the dog come out of its shell, start to enjoy life, being home for the first time, enjoying the couch. It's never being able to sleep on a couch. It's like, hey, this is great. We could have fun. And, I love being pet all this attention. So it's fun to watch them grow with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And each dog is so different. So they're just going to be different. What I have found with the Podencos that I've had, the one that I had, he was a little younger. He was about a year and a half. And then the one I recently adopted, he's, as I said, 10. But at 10 years old, he loves to play with toys.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah. And I know they're not all the same and stuff like that, but it's something that I sit down and I watch and I think to myself, you know, at 10 years old, he goes in the toy box and he gets his squeaky out and, he throws it up in the
Yeah.
air and he kind of whips it around. And sometimes I come home and I just find things and I know it's him, so, like I said, ripping paper out of out of the trash can or,
Oh
um,
yeah. Yeah.
he's tall enough to look on the top of the counter and do a little like, is there
Yeah.
anything
The
up
counter
there?
surfing.
He
It's like, come
hasn't,
on.
yeah, he hasn't done anything that he hasn't jumped up there, but I know he scouts it out. So,
Right.
um, but it was a pleasure talking with you, Travis. I'm just so happy that we had this opportunity to meet. And I just think you're just doing some awesome work through your photography, through your rescue, and just you as a person. The dogs are very lucky to have a person like you stand up for them. And I just wish you all the luck and certainly reach out. We're not far from each other. If
Right.
you ever
Yep.
need anything from the training aspect, I know you said you have a trainer, but
Yeah. It's always good to have other areas. So be able to cover all of that. So,
yeah, yeah. So gotcha. So we'll wrap it up. And again, anybody, please follow Travis. You can go to stinkeyphotography.com or you can go to his Instagram, which is stinkeye_photography, which again, I think is just absolutely beautiful. Looking at all of his photos and then for any kind of donations. You can go to the
Adopt a Galgo.
isap.com and so reach out from there. So again, thank you so much, and we'll be talking to you soon. Okay?
Right. Thank you.
You betcha.
Bye.